All right, let's talk anthropology. When I say that word, what pops into your head? I'm guessing dusty bones, ancient ruins, maybe Indiana Jones, right? But here's the thing. What if I told you the most groundbreaking anthropology isn't about the past at all? It's all about what's happening right now. So, look at this. On the left, yeah, that's the stereotype. A dig site. Super important work, for sure. But look to the right. This is where things get really interesting for modern cultural anthropology. It's a restaurant in a refugee camp. And you know what? To an anthropologist, this place is basically a treasure trove, just as full of clues as any ancient tomb. It's telling us a powerful story about community, about resilience, about what it's like to be human today.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to unpack what anthropology is really about today. We'll look at the tools they use, figure out the central mystery of value, and then we're going to crack open a couple of amazing case files to see it all in action before we wrap it all up.
Okay, let's get right into it. First things first, we gotta bust a myth. The biggest one out there is that anthropology is just obsessed with the past. But it's not. Not really. Think of it more like a powerful set of glasses for seeing our own complex, kind of messy, but totally fascinating world right here, right now.
So what's the deal with modern anthropology? Well, it's all about looking at the whole picture, every little piece of what makes us human to solve problems that are happening today. So we're thinking less about digging up artifacts and more about digging up insights. You know, asking questions like, why do some public health campaigns just fall flat? Or why aren't these education programs working? These are the kinds of puzzles modern anthropologists are tackling.
Okay, let's jump back to that refugee camp for a second. So you've got policymakers scratching their heads wondering, why are these schools we built failing? On paper, it just didn't add up. But then anthropologists Amanda Poole and Jennifer Riggin actually went there. They were on the ground, and they found out that for the students, these schools felt less like an opportunity and more like a cage, something holding them back from building a real life. And that's the key, right? Without someone there, listening, that entire crucial human perspective was just gone, totally missing. So how do they get these kinds of game-changing insights? Well, it's definitely not by sitting behind a desk crunching numbers. Nope. They've got this special toolkit, almost like a detective's kit, designed to get at the hidden logic behind why we do the things we do.
And the number one tool in that kit, it's something called participant observation. I know it sounds a little academic, but the idea is actually super simple. You don't just stand on the sidelines with a clipboard. You jump in. You learn by doing, by listening, by actually becoming a part of the daily life of the community you're trying to understand. It's all about getting that insider's view, instead of just looking in from the outside.
And this is a perfect picture of what that actually looks like. See, it doesn't have to be some remote village halfway across the world. It can be right here, in a local community garden. This student, she's not just counting tomato plants. She's learning about friendships, about who shares tools with who, about what this little patch of green really means to everyone. She's getting the story from the inside out.
So, all this digging, all this participating, what's it all for? What's the goal? Well, they're looking for one central clue, the thing that unlocks the whole mystery of why people act the way they do. And that clue is value. And this is super important, a distinction that comes from the amazing work of anthropologist David Graeber. When we say value, we're not talking about the economic kind, the price tag on something. We're talking about values with an S, the sociological kind. These are community shared beliefs about what's good, what's right, what's important in life. We're talking about things like honor, family, tradition. These are the invisible currents that really guide how people behave. All right, so theory's one thing, but let's see this stuff in action. We already saw what happens when a plan ignores people's real lives. It fails. So what happens when you flip the script? For our first case file, we're heading way up to Huslia, Alaska, to see a program that was built from the ground up, based entirely on what the community itself values. So in Huslia, they didn't just bring in some generic, one-size-fits-all wellness program from the outside. No way. The community leaders created something that came right from their own traditions, a sled dog mushing program. The whole point wasn't about fixing what was wrong. It was about building on what was already strong. And this program was laser-focused on strengthening these core Athabascan values. You see things here like caring for family, family unity, and a really big one, honoring ancestors. This wasn't some boring classroom lesson. It was about living these values every single day through the shared responsibility of caring for the dogs. And just listen to this quote from a student. You can just feel how powerful this is. For them, mushing wasn't just some after-school activity. It was a real, living connection to their grandpa, a hero in the community.
It was a source of serious pride. The program took that abstract idea of honoring ancestors and made it totally real, personal, and something to aspire to.
And look at the results. I mean, they speak for themselves. The program built stronger connections between generations, it boosted resilience and pride, it just made people feel better. And why did it work? Because it started with that one simple question: what's important to us here? And they built the whole thing from that answer. It's a perfect case of anthropology in action, succeeding where those top-down plans just don't.
Okay, for our next case file, we're going to pivot to a place you probably wouldn't expect to find this kind of thinking: the art world. There's this incredible movement called social practice art, where artists are basically using the anthropologist toolkit. They're creating art that isn't just for looking at, it has a real job to do, all by tapping into a community's values.
The whole concept is summed up by what the artist Tania Bruguera calls arte útil, which literally means useful art. And that's exactly what it is. This isn't art that hangs on a wall. This is art that acts. It provides a service, it builds a community, it actually tries to solve a problem. And of course, to do that, the artists have to get in there and really understand the people they're working with.
Okay, check this out. Take the artist Muriel Latterman Ukeles. For her artwork, she became an artist in residence with the New York City Department of Sanitation. For almost a year, she went all over the city just to meet and personally shake the hand of all 8,500 sanitation workers. Her message was simple: thank you for keeping New York City alive. Her art wasn't a painting or a sculpture, it was the act itself, an act that brought dignity and value back to a workforce that's so often invisible.
Or how about Tania Bruguera's project? She took an art gallery in Queens and turned it into a real working community center for immigrants. It wasn't a painting of a community center, it was a community center. It had legal aid, workshops, even childcare. The art was the center, this piece of social infrastructure that was built on the community's need for support and empowerment.
And this is still happening, right now. Look at Nolan Hansen's Trans Boxing. It's this ongoing project that creates safe, empowering gyms for trans and gender variant folks to train and connect. It's not really about boxing, you know? It's about creating a space where the values of safety, inclusion, and strength come first. The project is the art. The community is the art.
So from a refugee camp to an Alaskan village to a boxing gym in a city, it seems like these stories are worlds apart, right? But there's a golden thread connecting every single one of them, and that thread is the central, most important insight of modern anthropology.
And here it is. This is the big takeaway. If you want to make any kind of real, lasting change, if you want to solve a tough problem, you just can't start with a spreadsheet or a policy dreamed up in some faraway office. It won't work. You have to start by understanding what things actually mean to people on the ground. You have to start with people, period.
So that leaves one last question, and this one's for you. Take a look around your own life, your neighborhood, your job, even your own family. What are the unwritten rules, the shared beliefs? What are the things that people truly value, deep down? What are the hidden values that make your community tick? I promise, once you start looking for them, you'll start seeing them everywhere.